The famous Trappist monk and author Thomas Merton wrote once a little phrase that I wrote down and I keep in my prayer book. And the phrase simply is, love seeks one thing, the good of the one loved. It's something that has stuck with me. A number of years ago, I was doing some research and some writing on the idea of friendship with God. And in Thomas Aquinas' writings, he identifies three marks, three very important marks, three very important qualities of friendship, particularly if the friend is God. The first one is benevolence. The second one is mutuality, and the third one is becoming another self for the other. Benevolence means that we desire, that we seek the good of the other. Sort of similar to exactly what Thomas Merton is saying. And I guess those two things sort of came up within me this week as I focused on this moment because of our gospel today. Very familiar one, that exchange between a scholar of the law and Jesus on what's the greatest commandment. And Jesus boils it down to two. He sort of collapses all of the law at that point in time, the 10 Commandments, and all of the laws that the Israelites have put together under Moses. He collapses them into those two, the love of God and the love of neighbor. To love means to seek the good of the other. That means we're challenged in the living of our life to seek the good of our neighbors and God. You know, in our first reading today, God is sort of tough on the Israelites. He's been tough the last few weeks on the Israelites. Remember last week it was Cyrus, someone not an Israelite, leading them back to Jerusalem. Today, God is saying you got to take care of everybody, no matter whether they look like you or not. No matter what they believe in like you or not, you have to take care of them. And if you don't, there's going to be heck to pay for you. Seeking the good of others. You know, I've often thought that this little section in the gospel, that there are really three commandments involved there. And I'm sure theologians and scripture scholars and those in the know will begin to pull out their hair. But for me, there's three commandments in Jesus' statement today. The obvious of love of God and love of neighbor, but also love of self. Before we can love anybody else, we have to find the good in ourselves. We have to seek that. We have to search it out. And when we do that, then God and others become people that we can invest in, we can live out. Our scriptures today sort of relate to us or offer us, again, reflection for our life, for our journey of faith, to see others around us, to seek out their goodness. And sometimes that's hard. Sometimes it's hard to find the goodness in other people, just like sometimes it's hard to find the goodness in ourselves. But we've got to work at it. Find it in ourselves, we'll find it in others, and in finding in others, God will become bigger than life for us.